Okay, guys, so I am just getting back from being out and about. So I'm going to let my hair down. I'm going to relax and take it easy. I do want to talk about having good relationship advice. So I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Steven Speaks. I was listening to him the other day. Amazing advice. Um, when a guy doesn't want to commit, as my husband, he can't commit. He broke up with me. Well, I broke up with him in eighth grade. Then he broke up with me because he said he wanted his freedom after the time he broke up with me because I was going to college. So what, right? So, when a guy doesn't want to commit, you will see it coming. So I was telling someone today that I saw it coming, and she recommended a certain stuff to help me with that. But when you see it coming, you see a guy acting inconsistent. He doesn't know what he wants. He doesn't know if he wants to be married. That's kind of the situation. And when he was like, you know what, you can leave this house, you and the kids, and I'll have it for myself, I kind of knew right there that the house that I got him, uh, he pretty much got prideful about it. He thought he was, you know, pretty hot stuff and thought that he could just be unkind to me. So let me see. So we were in a trailer and he didn't know what to do. And I already had been helping a lot. And I said to him, he's like, I thought his anger was a lot from the trailer because it was falling apart and he was getting frustrated. So I'm like, well, let me look around and see what I can find. And I found this house in Webster. So I was like, I don't think I want to work with this landlord. He's doing drugs and I don't really want to work with him. And I mean, that was my perspective within a few minutes. And he's like, I really want this house. We don't have to deal with him. I really want the house. And I'm like, well, you know what? You worked hard and you deserve it. So the fact that he worked, I thought, okay, it's been a long time. He works. He hands me over his checks. I mean, not like I don't work, but I wanted to reward my husband, right? And I heard someone tell me before, Melissa, make sure you let him get boots because he had holes in his boots. And she's like, he works hard. So he had gotten some boots and everything. And the thing that Steven was saying is if a guy doesn't work at level 8, don't think you can go to level 10 with him. If he's not willing to put in the extra work that's needed to take care of your needs and what you need in life, don't go a 10 with him. So a lot of times we think, oh, and that was probably my mistake. He's frustrated. Let me help him, and let me call the landlord. Let me, get this trailer off our back. And when that happens, you're setting yourself up. And a lot of times women will feel like, he should have been doing this. Okay. So women will feel like, I've helped him so much. I've done so much for him. I don't want to lose the investment, is what you're thinking. Instead of looking at it and saying, something is missing. There is a connection that is missing for a guy to be so wishy washy. So when you see that coming, and I think women know this intuitively, we know, and when you see it coming, make sure you continue taking care of you and putting what's best for you in place. So I saw it coming. I was using the COVID declaration because I was working at Dave and Buster's in Manchester. I had just taken this job, just sent my W-2s to the court, so they'll see this. Started at Bertucci's in the mall, so I had 72 hours set up, got sick really bad, just like 3 days of just not being able to do anything. And so I had gotten the COVID funds. And I said, Mike's going to wait on his money because he had already threatened us a couple times. Well, he put the rent up by $300 all at once. And then he wanted us to buy the place. And he said, he gave us an eviction saying, it's because I'm selling. So then he changed his mind. This was in August. So we got all of our stuff in storage because we were seeing how he was acting. And then I said, he's going to wait for COVID money. He's going to wait. And he got all of it plus some. And it was actually the week after court, Cap New Hampshire just happened to pay him. They were late paying him. And I said, look, and I said, Mike, I'm working with Cap New Hampshire. You'll get your money. He's like, I want my rent now. And I'm like, you're going to have to wait. Everybody's hurting with COVID. You're going to have to wait. And so he's like, okay, then I'm evicting you for that. And I was like, go right ahead, Mike. I will be covered by COVID. And so I went to the court and I'm like, hey, we still in January should be covered with the COVID declaration. And this was 2022. And he told the court he didn't have to abide by COVID regulations. And the court is like, look, you don't owe him anything. Just, leave the place. And so even with not owing him anything, I made sure he had the COVID funds that paid him back, plus like a couple months extra. Plus, I did pay him in November some rent to hold him off, and he didn't appreciate it. And then let me see what happened after that. Plus, we found out there was mold in the home, so I was going to fight for my family to stay in this home because it was winter, right? And he's making a family leave in the wintertime, which I think should be illegal for putting a family out in the winter. So the whole COVID thing was a mess. So I said, okay, Mike, here's your money. I'm not going to bother with you. I pity you. You keep telling this realtor, what was it? This lady, Joya, at this realty company. He was telling her that his wife has cancer and we won't leave. He used that excuse when we moved in like 4 years before. So I'm like, Mike, we're headed out and have your home and all this mold. And so he complained it wasn't clean enough when we left. My husband did take care of things, and so did I, but they were complaining it wasn't clean enough with the pictures that I took. And then I stayed at an Airbnb with someone from the church family. And, we were also in hotels. I think I was in the hotel with the COVID money, and then it was an Airbnb before I left New Hampshire. And yeah, because my son got bit by a dog and had to go to the hospital and have a rabies shot and all that stuff. So this was in Loudon, New Hampshire. So my husband knew about it. He had plenty of time in the summer to get a place, and he didn't. So I'm like, okay, so you can go ahead. I said to my husband, do you want me to fight for us to stay here? And he's like, no, I'm sick of this place. So I said, okay, if you're not going to want to work it out with him, then, I'm just going to not fight for it. So yeah, the COVID money was used for the hotel for about a month and a half. And if I would have, this was a risky move I made, but I'm glad I made it, because if I would have been caught up with the rent and during the COVID time when I lost work, he would have still kicked us out, and I wouldn't have had the COVID help. I wouldn't have had it. It covered my back during this time. And it also made sure we were well taken care of for like a month and a half after. So get those funds. I mean, if he would have kicked us out and we would have lost a home just like that, we would have probably, just not even had the money for any hotels or any kind of moving. And when you're going through a crisis, don't be afraid to spend money. So I had to spend a lot on hotels and takeout and everything because we were traveling and we were trying to make it. And of course, I was working too. I was working at a couple companies. One of them was McDonald's with my son, plus another job. So, don't be afraid to take the help, because it's going to also have your back with a landlord who's trying to, kick a family out in the winter. So, so back to what I was saying about good relationship advice. It's not the trial that's the problem. It's how you handle it. So my husband, who did not want to be committed to me, I enhanced our life, and he didn't want to move up to level 10 with me. He didn't want to work this out. I said, hey, let me come over here. We'll figure out what we're doing together. When a man doesn't want to commit to you, that's the problem. It's not, he might like the sex and you'll have an unhealthy attachment. He might like that you do so much for him. okay, because you take care of him and you're doing so much. But if he cannot be committed to you as a person, you do have to let him go. And that's kind of where I'm at with the whole divorce thing. It's time to say goodbye because he will not level up and he will not work at things.